And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game called Galapagos. Now this is from White Goblin Games, and this is not actually a new game. It actually came out, I believe, in 2010 or 2011, a couple years old. I was hunting down for the new Galapagos game from Amigo and got both of these games because they have the exact same name. This game is based on you going to the Galapagos Islands and collecting all the unique and interesting, I would love to go to these islands someday. That would be a great thing to do. But to see all the unique and interesting animals and collect those and bring them back and exhibit them. Okay, so you are grabbing animals and showing them off for profit. Go you! Anyway, let's take a look at the game. Alright folks, here's the board of the game that you can see here, and I'm going to say this later on, but the graphic design of this is not really good. There's a score track that goes around the board, which is made up of brightly colored crabs placed on a brightly colored background, and I'm a fan of gaudiness, but alright, on the side of the board here are bonus tiles, and you can see that only one of them is turned face up. Each turn of the game, you'll turn another bonus tile face up, and that's one way to keep track of the 12 rounds that are in the game. Now, each player is going to have one of these compass points placed in front of them, northwest, east, and south, and they're going to be having a handful of cards that you will be looking at that match north, west, and south. I don't happen to have any east cards in my hand. At the beginning of each round of the game, players are going to make bids. You can bid basically any amount of money that you have, and you can see there's money over here, to the north, the south, east, or the west, and between all the players, whichever direction has the highest amount bid for it, that's a direction that you'll be working with this round. And then the player who has bid the most in that direction is the first player. If there's a tie, then the tie goes to the person who bid that amount first, and with whoever starts the game with the first player. So let's say that north is the winner of this. That means each player is going to only be able to play the north cards in their hands. Had it been west, you could have played the west cards south, and had we gotten east, I would be in some serious trouble. I would essentially be skipping this turn. So each player is going to go around, and they're going to play different cards from their hand, as many as they possibly can on their turn. Now the east, I'm sorry, not the east cards, but each card, there's 4 different types. This card here is studying for knowledge. Each player starts off here not knowing much about anything really, but whenever you play one of these cards, you can pay money. You can pay 1,000, 3,000, 6,000, or 10,000 to move 1, 2, 3, or 4 spaces up on this knowledge track here. You can get animals with the ship cards. This is how you collect animal tokens. When you collect animal tokens, you can take only the animals that are in a direction. So in this instance, this is a west card, so let's say we were going west. I would only be able to take the lizards or the penguins here. Now, whenever you take these different animals, it depends where you are in the knowledge track. If you've reached that animal or past it, then you simply take one of those animals for each ship card that you play. If you want to take an animal that you have not yet reached, you are going to have to pay money based on how far away from it you are on the knowledge track. And these animals will start on the knowledge track in different spots. And the knowledge track actually wraps all the way around the board up here. It's actually quite hard to see at certain spots. Then, another card that players can play is they can sell one of their animals back to the bank for 6,000. So you might just want to get rid of one of your animals, or you might be desperately in need of money. And then there is the exhibition cards. These cards allow you to exhibit as many different animals as you can. So let's say I had these 3 animals. I could exhibit all 3 of them and get 2 points for each animal that I exhibit. When I make an exhibition and it matches one of the bonus tiles, I can take that tile. So here, I need an exhibition of at least size 2. I could take this. At the end of the game, it's going to be worth 3 points. Here, it simply has to have a sea lion in it, and then I would get 2 points. And basically, all the different ones have to have a certain number of animals in them. A certain number of different animals, like this one here, which is worth 11 points, means I need all 6 animals in it. And this one here means I need a crab in it, which, as you can see, is very far down the knowledge track, therefore more expensive to get. Players can also discard cards whenever they like to of the matching color for 100 coins, so that's a way to get money. or you can discard any 2 cards of the same color as a wild and do basically any action you want, as long as you're spending 2 cards to do that action. After each player has done their actions, and actions go in turn order, we turn over the next bonus tile, the direction that was used. So let's say in this example, north had been used. That means the 2 animals that were there would each be moved 1 space farther on the track. So I guess I don't know what that's supposed to signify, that it's harder to learn more about them. Then this tile is discarded and another tile is put in its place. And this will continue for 12 rounds. After 12 rounds, we add up the points. There's some bonus points for people who are farthest on the knowledge track, and whoever has the most points is the winner. The first thing we have to talk about, the artwork on the front of the box is nice. The box looks good. But other than that, the graphic design for this game is really a train wreck. The tiles, it looks like a prototype almost. The colors don't match. Everything just has this look of like, it looks like I did the graphic design, and I did it in Word. And that really throws off the look of the game because it looks cheap, and it shouldn't look cheap, and it doesn't feel that cheap. It's not like the components are bad quality, but it just has that feeling about it. And did no one look at the board and say, you can't really see anything? Anyhow. So that's a bad thing. The gameplay itself is mediocre. I think the auction part is really intriguing. I love the idea of everyone voting for what direction you're going to go in and bidding money on it. It's a good auction because all the money you bid, you lose if you're the winning side only. And you can definitely pick the side, but is it worth spending that much money? Because you need money to advance. You need money to buy the animals. And if you don't get those animals, you can't exhibit. So I think that part's neat. I think moving on the knowledge track is a really cool idea, and having the animals also move on the knowledge track, pretty cool. The game breaks down a little bit because those last exhibitions, the 10, 11, and 12 point, are so important to the game. I mean, if you get the 1, 2, and 3 point, yay for you, and I get the 12 point, I just did better than you 3 rounds. The first several rounds, the point values are just not really worth anything. In the last few rounds, they're worth quite a bit. So, I don't know. The gameplay is quick though, although I will say by the 12th round, you're like, are we doing the same thing again? Because you're doing the same 4 actions 12 rounds in a row. But, like I said, lots of cool things, being able to use 2 cards for 1. So this one is, I'm rating this, if you look at my rating when I rate games from 1 to 10, I'm rating this one a 6, but it is barely a 6. Because the game is good, and I enjoy it, but it's really dragged down by poor graphic decisions, and by the fact that it kind of outstays its welcome just a little bit too much. Like, maybe it's like a 5.8 or something. It's just shy of it just passed. It's like passing but barely. So that's actually not really a recommendation for the game. But at the same time, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a game that I would play. It's a game that if you're playing, I'd say, oh, that's an interesting game. But there are games out there that do a lot of these same mechanisms in possibly a better one. Maybe not in the same package. And man, I love the theme, but such a missed opportunity.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.